Hello, everyone. This is Samir Azizi, and welcome to Azizi Podcast. Today, I have a special guest, Eric Rosas. Eric, I just want to get your title right because you had many titles in the past, but right now you're a senior manager for global subscriptions at DAZN Group. Would that be correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and as we were talking before, I just asked some random question on Twitter about the fight in Guadalajara, Mexico that has happened recently, and you were kind enough to provide some details about whether it's televised or only on the zone. And so I looked you up, and all of a sudden I see that you were very deep there on the zone, like you're responsible for global subscriptions. So yeah, so that's why I just reached out to you and asked if you can be in my podcast. So thank you so much, sir. How are you today?
Oh, very, very good. Thanks for having me, Samir. Really appreciate it. Obviously, when I saw your tweet asking about the rights, whether they were carried in Mexico, just I like answering right away because I think the more information you provide to fans, the more informed decisions they can make. And I think it's good for fans to just have information. I think when I think about the zone subscriptions and marketing and sort of some of the things that we do, look at it kind of like a restaurant, right? Like you go to a restaurant, you get a menu, you know exactly what you can order, you know how much it costs, you can get a small description about what that food item is if you don't know what it is. So I like to do the same with boxing, right? Like here's our schedule, here's where it's available, here's what time it starts, here's what time the main event starts, and then from there you can kind of make your own decision about whether you want to watch or not, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you often do that? Do you often check in on Twitter and see what's trending, who's tweeting about that? Like if you want to provide any extra information, or is kind of serendipitous? You're just going through the timeline and you see something and or is it just something that you're intentionally doing?
No, I do it probably mostly as a way to kind of as a fan forum to kind of listen to see what kind of
Yeah.
feedback there is to see. I mean, let's be honest. Most people on Twitter are probably trolling.
Yeah, they are,
Probably,
especially lately. Yeah.
but there's probably a certain element of truth to some of the things that they're asking about, or just seeing like, if you see a lot of questions, I just like to jump in and help out where I can,
Mm-hmm.
specifically as it relates to Latin America and
Mm-hmm.
Spanish speaking element, just because I come from a Mexican family.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of family in Mexico. I'm currently actually in Mexico City. I've been working here for a month and will do so for another month. So I'm very interested in this market in particular. And I know that, the zone being an English language platform for the time being,
Mm-hmm.
have an awesome social media team, an awesome customer service team that actually their job is to go on social media and answer a lot of these different questions. But when I see them in Spanish, that's usually when
Mm-hmm.
in your case, it was in English, but it was about Mexico and that market. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can answer that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was something that I was curious as well because my audience, a lot of my audiences are Russian speakers. I follow a lot of boxers from Kazakhstan, from Russia, from the former Soviet Union. And as such, I was very excited when DAZN announced that they're going global and they introduced DAZN to us. So I'll return to that question a little bit. I just want our audience to know a little bit more about you, and then we can talk a little bit about DAZN and what does
Yeah.
DAZN mean for global audience. So let's start a little bit with you. How did you get into this industry? Where did you start, and were you always wanted to be in a sports industry from the get-go?
No, actually, growing up as a kid from I hate to label myself, but from like humble beginnings, from a family with my family's all immigrants. I was actually the first person born in the U.S. from either side of my mom and my dad's family, so 100% Mexican. I think I always had this American dream kind of vision in terms of like get as much money as possible, get the highest paying job,
Mm-hmm.
do sort of just glamorous things. So for me growing up, that job actually was always finance, something like being an investment banker or something along those lines. And I just I didn't really even know what it was, right? But it was the thought of that American image, this
Of
having
the businessman in the suit, making
yeah.
money, being in the office in the high tower in New York. I can relate to that as well. I came to America when I was 17, and that was exactly my dream. Became that high roller American, kind of go in there
That's
and be
it.
the boss, become the main guy. That was always my dream as well, so I can totally relate to
Yeah,
that.
probably not as mischievous, but kind of like the Wolf of Wall Street, that image of like.
Exactly. Especially when you're like younger, you always want to be that kind of like strong type.
Exactly. So that was always kind of the goal. That was always the vision. And when I first, in college, started looking for internships, I had a recruiter that was helping me. I'm part of this program called Prep for Prep in New York City that has guided me from middle school all the way through getting into a private school for middle school, high school, and then in college. And they help you all the way through your job career. So when they were helping,
hold on, let's give it a proper shout out. So it's called Prep for Prep.
Prep for Prep, yeah. It's
Okay.
an organization in New York City that.
That sounds so cool. Yeah.
It's great. Honestly, they changed my life. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am today. I feel very fortunate.
Wow.
I've been selected into that program. So basically what they do is they take inner city kids from New York City, that sort of meet a certain level of education and you sort of go through this rigorous testing program. And if you're accepted in, you go through a 14-month program where you eventually place into a private school, and then they guide you from there on. But it is very difficult. The whole purpose of the program is that they over-prepare you for prep school. Mm-hmm. So I recall in 5th or 6th grade, and there was subjects or books that I read that I didn't really touch again until I was a senior in high school or even a freshman in college. Mm-hmm. They
start you early, huh? Like right away.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, at the time I hated it. I was miserable.
Of course, yeah.
I was like, you guys took my childhood and that type of But once now as an adult, you're like, oh my God, I wish I would do it again. And mm-hmm. Everybody, I wish every child kind of had that opportunity. So big shout out to Prep for Prep, contingent 25, making me feel old. But yeah, so when they helped me look for first job, they were like, look, man, you're just obviously not qualified enough for finance job at the moment. I was studying international relations and Spanish literature in school, so mm-hmm. not exactly the finance background. Mm-hmm. Said, why don't you try this other internship at the New York Mets? So I ended up working for the New York Mets.
Wow.
She lived 15 minutes away from them, walking distance. It was perfect. The only downside was I was actually a huge Yankees fan, so it just felt a little bit
okay, weird. So there's a little conflict there.
Yeah. But that was my first internship in sports, and it was selling game used memorabilia, so stuff that the players had worn, working with MLB on authenticating it, putting it up on our online workshop, mm-hmm. and doing that, and a lot of like the game day promotions, so giving away bobbleheads and towels or whatever, T-shirts, whatever the sort of merchandise was for today, and just managing that inventory and helping out. And man, I had such a good time just being in the ballpark every day. Eating hot dogs.
So tell me, Eric, what's the number one thing that you learned in that internship?
Number one thing that I learned about, honestly, more than anything, was that I love sports and that this is kind of where I wanted to be. Again, New York Yankees fan. My favorite sports are soccer and boxing, so it wasn't even number one on my list. And I had such an amazing time that I was like, oh my God, this is kind of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to that as well. I don't know what it is about sports, but working in like a professional industry, like I was working as an accountant for some firms, as a business consultant, but something about sports always attracted me. And I think that's, with all the minutiae in the real world that we have, sports is actually like the realest thing out there. It's just so pure, when it comes to pure athleticism. Of course, there's other things involved, but like when it's on the field, when it's in the ring, it's just so pure, and that's what I like about it.
Well, what I like about it too is you just don't feel like you're actually working. Like I remember mm-hmm. walking out, I was like in the building, like the corporate office was right next to the stadium. There was a door that went through, and I forget why I had to like go into the stadium and pick up like a hat or something from one of the kiosks. And I'm just walking in, and it's like, it's during the summer. It was probably like 1 or 2 p.m. And I walk out, and you just hear the crowd roaring because somebody hit a home run or something like that. And you're just like, wow, this is electric. Like, I can't believe I'm actually working. I can't believe I'm actually getting paid to be here and to do this. Like, it was awesome. Even though
right.
You're not sitting down and watching every single minute of the game, you're still like, oh my God, I'm here. This is great. And the same applies today with DAZN and boxing. I mean, when I show up at fights, I'm just like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to to be here.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
My
I had
role.
those moments a couple of times. I had those moments too. It's just like, what the hell? Like this is it. But yeah, like that's like just accelerated my love for the sport in general. All right, so that was your first work experience. That was your internship. Interesting. Then what
Yeah,
happened?
and then my second internship was building off of that. I went to ESPN in the international marketing solution team. So it was a very ad sales marketing role. So helping ESPN outside of the US, I worked a lot primarily on Latin America, but Latin
Mm-hmm.
America, the UK, Australia, and the purpose of that role was basically to come up with campaigns, creative, whether it was a commercial, whether it was original content, whatever it was, coming up with solutions to help
Mm-hmm.
and attract dollars from brands like P&G, Avianca, and airline. So just trying to like really working on the ad sales side, but it was more of a creative aspect to it. It was more of like, what can we do? For example, P&G had it, during I forget, it was probably the Copa America a while.
Mm-hmm.
Remember how
Yeah.
long? But it was we had Head and Shoulders and the shampoo as part of like that one of the brands that we were targeting. So we created this whole campaign about the look Ganador, which was like the winning look.
Mm-hmm.
So we profiled sort of the different haircuts across the Copa America, and you had like the Neymar, or you had like the
Yeah,
Messi haircut, whatever it was. So it's a cool way of tying sports with the brand that we were working with. So that was kind of the role. Learned quite a lot in that role. Learned a
yeah.
lot about each international market. It's just so different, right? Like what works for you in the US doesn't work in Latin America. What works in Latin America doesn't work in Australia. It doesn't work in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
The market just kind of has its own nuance. They have their own tendencies, they have their own preference in sport. So I think that's translated pretty well into kind of what I do at the Zone today, actually. So
Yeah, I mean, did you realize at that point, like, you were just fresh out of college, but you're already having such cool internships? I would kill for those internships, to be honest, like to work for such brands, for New York Mets, for ESPN, and be an intern and that. Like, were you realizing, like, wow, like this is, I'm like heading somewhere. Like, I'm like, there's a momentum like going brewing here. Like, at that point, were you realizing maybe sports is it? Like, I'm gonna tie my life to that.
it, it definitely felt like that way. Like I definitely was loved. I definitely felt very blessed and felt that I was given a great opportunity. I probably didn't appreciate it as much until later down the road when I realized how many people are trying to get into sports. Just getting your foot in the first time it's the most difficult thing. I mean, that's kind of what, I have, when younger students kind of reach out to me and they say kind of like, what's your number one tip? I'm like, just be patient. Just be
Hmm.
patient because it can take a while. And it did take a while. So after graduating from college, I actually, while I was in college, it was halfway through my senior year, I actually received a job offer from JP Morgan Chase doing global financial crimes. I'm even blanking on the name. It was basically screening
I
all
saw
the.
that. That was crazy. Like, I saw that on your profile. That was like, wow, some CIA stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so after I said all that, I ended up going into a financial job. It was honestly like, think about it. You're a senior in college. It was halfway through the year, like it was December.
Hmm.
So I had another semester to go. I got this job offer, full time. It was they gave a nice, signing bonus, and it's just very, very tempting. And the guys at ESPN, I had a really good relationship with them. Justin Leibowitz was my manager at the time. And I think they wanted to bring me in after graduating, but like most things in sports, it was not a sure thing. And they're just kind of like, wait it out. Like, let's kind of see where you are by the end of the year. So for me, at that moment, just being so anxious to get a job and
Yeah,
graduate
absolutely.
into the
Plus, it's
workforce.
JP Morgan. I mean, come on, this is like one of the banks, and to work at this, and I know, especially in New York, like the biggest office I think is in New York. It's just like it's a huge thing. It's
Yeah,
a huge deal to work at JP Morgan Chase in New York City.
yeah.
You were going to your original dream, towards your original dream to be that guy in the suit who like solves international crime, financial wise.
Yeah, essentially the role was basically to screen all of the bank's clients, whether that was individual people or whether that was like corporate organizations, and then just running them against what was the OFAC sanctions list, and just making sure that people basically were who they said they were, right? Like if it was
Hmm.
Eric Rosas and the system detected that there was a drug trafficker in Sonora, Mexico, also named Eric Rosas, you would just need to that I wasn't that guy. You know, you do a little bit of research, and you know, you had some certain tools to make sure,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that they were who they said they were, and if they passed, then you go on. You know, and then but if it was the right hit, you would escalate it, and then the next team would, you know, you would start doing a deeper dive on that person. But that was kind of the role. To be
Mm-hmm.
honest, it was very boring.
Yeah, I was about to ask, like, how did you feel about that? You know, working there after being in the arenas and hearing people roar, you know, and ecstatically, and then you all of a sudden you're in the bank, you know, doing an office job and trying to
Yeah,
find like.
and I did it close to 3 years. To be honest, I think you know, just I think it impacted my mental health quite a bit. You know,
Oh yeah.
I think it affected my physical health quite a bit. I think I was doing a lot of partying and going out pretty consistently, put on quite a bit of weight. So I just felt like it was
It's that banker life, huh?
yeah. And interestingly enough, you know, I put on quite a bit of weight, and you know, I just wasn't really enjoying myself. And I was like, okay, you know, obviously I've been given a great opportunity. JP Morgan gave me a lot of responsibility. I was managing a team of 10 people directly by the time
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, things were going well, but I just didn't really enjoy it. So interestingly enough, one of the things that happened was I looked at myself and I was like, oh my God, Eric, you're just gonna get really, really big. So I thought back to, and I joined a local gym, tried lifting weights, tried kind of doing your regular running. And I was like skipping most days, right? Like you get home,
Mm-hmm.
you turn on TV, you put down your stuff, and you get lazy and you fall asleep, right? Or you kind of call it a day. So I thought back to high school, where I was like in my best shape ever, and I was like, well, I used to wrestle. I was like, I'm 21 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
I probably shouldn't be dealing with other grown men at this age. Probably not as acceptable in the real world. So I actually ended up joining a boxing gym, Church Street Boxing Gym down in New York City. It was pretty close to the JP Morgan offices where I was working at the time. And yeah, I never stopped boxing since. I mean, I've been boxing, training for 8 years. It's kind of what led me eventually to the zone down the road. But you know, have 2 amateur fights,
Oh
one month.
wow,
Yeah, and
that's you took it all the way,
and
huh?
yeah, well, yeah, it was a really good learning experience. You know, currently I actually, you know, have about 5 or 6 different kids that I actually coach now. So now I've kind of matured
Oh
into
wow.
coaching roles. So my first fighter, I actually plan to hopefully debut him in the next couple of months. I think probably September, October. I think he's ready. We've been training for a year now during COVID. So
Let's give him a shout out. What's his name?
Jair Calixto.
All right, Jair, we're
Yeah.
gonna be rooting for you.
15 years old. He's going to fight at 132 pounds. The kid's an absolute monster. The kid just puts in so much work, and yeah, he's a beast. Look out for him one day.
Fantastic. We're gonna record that for sure. Gonna put a bookmark there.
So yeah, man, that's kind of it. I mean, I eventually was like, you know, this is it. I need to get out of this, and it was very, very difficult. I applied, and this is kind of I was getting back to you about earlier, which is like it's so hard to get into sports, even with those internships. Having been at JP Morgan for close to 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of interviews at ESPN and other roles and other companies, but just nobody was hiring me, man. Everybody was just kind of like, why did you do that? You know, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what do you have? You know, you're competing with other people who went to college and studied sports marketing or sports management. So I just kind of had a bit of a disadvantage. Eventually, my old boss from ESPN International Marketing Solutions, Justin Leibowitz, basically reached out and he said, "We're hiring a project coordinator for 6 months. If you want it, the job's yours." Like, you know, I didn't even have to
Mm-hmm.
apply. Basically, I took a pay cut, like from like a 50% pay cut,
Mm-hmm.
and went from having this team of you know, like 10 people reporting into me to now all of a sudden having a contract for 6 months and not even having the
Right.
security of
So it's yeah, and you know, it sounds noble and stuff like, you know, but it's at the same time I can only imagine how hard it was, you know, and it speaks a lot about you. Like you bet on yourself. You know, you're not just saying like, okay, so I'm with this great sweet job and the situation is pretty good financially, but you also understand that, you know, perhaps you were not as happy as you could have been, you know, and you wanted to do something more enjoyable for your life, and you decided to bet on yourself. You know, a lot of people would actually be afraid for that. You know, they would be attached to their salaries. Like, I forgot who said that. Maybe it was Warren Buffett or someone else. Is like there are two drugs. The most dangerous drugs is heroin and monthly salary. You know what I mean? I
That's
forgot who
good.
said that. Yeah. So, but you just kind of like broke the cycle, and you ventured out in sports and took like made a sacrifice, but you ultimately bet it on yourself. So what
Yeah,
happened
but
next?
I mean, it wasn't easy, by the way. Like it was definitely difficult. My parents were like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Uh-huh. And what did
And
you tell them? Like, how did you explain that to them?
I basically said, "Look, like I'm very passionate about this, and I think if I envision myself, and it's hard to envision, but like 30 years from now, I think I will be much higher up the ladder, be a much more accomplished person doing something that I love because I'll be passionate about it and I'll never stop giving up or working hard on it, which I think, it's only been a few years, but still very early in my career, but I feel like so far it's been exactly that. I think there's difficult moments in, for DAZN working in boxing in the sense that it's a sport where you don't know what's next on the calendar and all of a sudden you
Yeah,
have to announce and then all of a sudden you're just like not sleeping every night and it's fine, because I love it because it doesn't feel like work. So, um,
absolutely.
so yeah,
Yeah,
so,
so that's great.
so I ended up going back to ESPN and did a couple of years, 2 or 3 years there, doing the exact same role that I had done before. It was great because I knew Justin Leibowitz, my manager at ESPN, who was a great mentor and a great person to work under.
Hmm.
And honestly was able to pick up right where I left off. And it was good. It was good. Just got to work with a lot of different brands over the years, got to travel to a few different markets. It was good. I made it down to Brazil for our upfront down there, got to go to Singapore, got to go to Mexico a lot of times, which is kind of where I fell in love with
Yeah.
Mexico, the city, because I have a lot of family here, but most of my family doesn't live in the city. I fell in love with Mexico. Just had a really, really great time, met a lot of really awesome people in the different markets, a lot of different brands. Internally at ESPN, it was good because I was working on the international markets, but was based out of New York. So I was able to kind of interact with our US social, production teams, our creative teams, and just get to network with a lot of people. And it was honestly the one of the best jobs I've ever had. I mean, I honestly have no complaints about it. I got to work on soccer quite a lot, which is my favorite sport. So it was
Hmm.
honestly the perfect dream come true. Have absolutely
Wow.
no complaints and nothing but good things to say about ESPN.
So let's fast forward to DAZN and
Yeah.
your start at DAZN, the whole actually the whole situation with DAZN as it appeared, I think back in 2017, 2018, when it started like acquiring boxing and like it entered the boxing scene in the United States. And I believe you were in DAZN. Well, I see it was in 2019. So when you started in DAZN, they were already like kind of like they signed all the deals with Canelo, with Triple G. I remember it's being like highly advertised and all of that. How did you end up at DAZN, and what did you think about this?
So basically, again, everything at ESPN was phenomenal. My only sort of, frustration a little bit was that I think I had kind of hit a little bit of a roadblock in terms of career growth.
Hmm.
Just kind of felt like there were so many people who had been there for so many years that it was kind of hard to go up the ladder, I guess, unless somebody else left first, right? And everything
Yeah.
off their job. So it was very rare to see that. Um, and yeah, and then just honestly, one day I was out at a party. I think it was New Year's. One of my friends, Noah Samuel, said that he knew this guy named Chris Waller who was working at DAZN, and that we should get lunch together one time. And we did, and we talked about kind of how much I love boxing, the fact that I'd been practicing boxing for so long,
Hmm.
that I had the sports background. So it kind of just opened the door for me. Big shout out to Chris for opening the door for me at DAZN. And then eventually I found this job opening that was this account management role, at DAZN. I honestly didn't quite exactly know what it was, but I
Hmm.
knew looking for somebody to kind of speak Spanish and have a good knowledge of the U.S. Hispanic and Latin American markets, obviously with
Hmm.
signing. And I was like, well, that's me. Somebody who loves
Yeah.
boxing. And I was like, yeah, that's me. Somebody who has a sports background. So it honestly just felt like a really, really perfect role. And I was excited right away. Shema Devitt, who was the first manager I worked under with at DAZN, also wanted to kind of get my opinion on not just the boxing stuff, but like just what my opinion and stance on DAZN was long term. And for me, honestly, I was just really, really blown away by the fact that DAZN was kind of revolutionizing the way that you're consuming sport to make it really, really accessible. I mean, as a boxing fan, we're used to dishing out $75.
Yeah, for pay-per-views.
I'm guilty, man. I buy all of them, right? Um, but when you see, you see a subscription service for $20 a month, I mean, it's just a game changer. So I was, blown away by the offering right away, and also by what they were doing in other markets. I mean, it was very foreign to me, but the fact that they had Serie A rights in Italy, the Bundesliga rights in Germany, the Japanese.
They have NHL rights here. Like, I watch football like so cheaply, like on DAZN. Like, it's crazy how accessible it is, like here in Canada.
Right, because you guys in Canada, you get the Premier League, Champions League.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not a bad deal, is it?
It's a great deal.
So yeah, when I saw that, I was just blown away, and I was like, yeah, I need to join. And then when I
what were you doing, like this account management thing? What did that entail?
Yeah, so my role was essentially to sit in sort of the liaison, was kind of like the middleman between the zone and all the different right holders that we had at that moment. So obviously the key ones are the ones that still stand today, are Matchroom, Golden Boy. But I was also managing at that moment. We still had Bellator, Combate Americas, KSW. We had a lot of MMA, smaller MMA rights. At some point, my role actually extended into Canada, and I was managing Major League Soccer, Premier League, and Champions League. So it's really hard to define the role. You're sort of the day-to-day account management person, but you kind of end up just getting dragged into very different things. I mean, put together, you make sure the payments for, on the contractual obligations are all paid out. So, whether that's the license fee for a fight event or quarterly rights payment for UA, for whatever it was, like, you have to pay that. If the promoter's creating assets, or the rights holders creating assets or content, making sure that was distributed to all of the internal parties at the zone. Working very closely for fights, working with the promoters on the ticketing, and the zone was given a certain number of allocation of tickets for each event, and then from there working with everybody at the zone to figure out, okay, we have that should go here. We need these executives to sit here. So it was very stressful. After the job there. So honestly, you just get dragged into like a million different directions, and it was honestly one of the most exhausting but really rewarding moments of my career, because I just learned so much. I mean, I was on the road working with the guys in production, the creative team, the social team. DAZN is a much smaller company than ESPN, so all of a sudden you're sitting at a table with the vice president of programming, or the vice president of social media and DAZN News, right? So it's a lot more accessible, and you just learned quite a lot. So I'm not sure I gave you the best answer, but
no, that's fascinating. Like I really like, this is fascinating to hear. What was the thing, like when you started DAZN? What was like the thing like, it's like, I want to like look forward to that, like maybe some sort of a sporting event, or maybe like it just happened unexpectedly. You're like, oh nice, like this DAZN thing is for real, like they're really doing this great shows. Like what was that thing where you felt like they're about to start competing with ESPN on some things?
Oh man, I mean, for me, the moment it was all kind of surreal, or felt very just enormous for me, was Canelo Jacobs. That was the first tentpole fight that we kind of had put on the platform, at least since I had been there. And it was also my birthday, May 4th.
Nice.
And I was like, you literally cannot make this up.
Oh man, you almost was born on Cinco de Mayo. Look at you.
Yeah, exactly. Mexican guy born on May 4th. We actually call it Cuatro de Rosas, and then
there you go.
Cinco de Mayo the next day. So it's a double celebration if you ever want to join me.
Absolutely.
It's a good excuse to have tacos and margaritas 2 days in a row. So.
Exactly. That's awesome. So Jacobs Canelo, huh? Yeah, that was a great event. I remember Triple G came to that fight. Like it was right before the pandemic, so it was like stacked and all, like with all the viewers. And promoted greatly. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, actually, and I remember working with all the guys from Triple G's team, and trying to get them seats and stuff. And at the end of the night, believe it or not, like in that role, I actually didn't have a ticket myself. And my boss, there was one leftover ticket, and she was like, "Oh, here you go. This is awesome." So actually, I think I sat right next to the guys that were managing Triple G, had a decent seat. And when being Mexican, once they start singing the Mexican national anthem, my body just kind of like get chills, and I had obviously seen a lot of Canelo fights, a lot of mega fights on TV, but being there in person, hearing the crowd, like just I just got so many chills. My skin just like I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I almost cried.
No, I can totally like see that. It's I don't know. It's a lot to take in. You know, it's definitely, especially with the way where you like brought up, and you know, overall how you like went up the ranks and went through one place to another to end up like in such great events that are televised worldwide. I feel like that's really great. Hold on, let me just quickly adjust my video.
No worries. Definitely, the only thing missing on my checklist at this point is probably a World Cup. That's
Oh yeah. Um, well, where do you see the zone and World Cup thing? Like, do you see the zone like actually getting some rights to that anytime soon?
no, sorry. So I should clarify. I meant from like just a personal level, being at a sporting event, you know, at a World Cup now. It's you know way too early to say about where the zone. But look, I'm sure our
Bro,
executive.
that was not a gotcha question. I was actually curious,
No,
but
no,
that's
no, no. But honestly, yeah. Look, I mean, just given the vision of the zone and trying to make sports accessible to all fans. I mean, what better event than the World Cup? And with that being such a mega event on a global scale, I mean, I don't know when or how we would do it, but I'm sure that at some point in time, it would make sense for a company like the Zone to hopefully bid for those rights, and we would
yeah,
definitely want
absolutely.
the table. I mean, why not, right? It's
Exactly.
that's
I mean, honestly, once I saw that you guys have the rights for NFL in Canada, I'm like, and it actually works amazingly. Like the whole infrastructure, how it actually like, just the app, the user experience of how I can switch from one game to another so seamlessly. I was like, that's what like I need. You know, to watch every game, soccer, you know, football, boxing, everything at once. Like it actually works. Like the app works great, and I saw that you guys are very like you guys doing a lot of push into the development, like the actual software development. I can see like a lot of jobs being posted for software developers. Like DAZN is really betting on that new like Web 3.0 and the 5G. I feel like it's gonna be so much crazier. There's a lot of like there's like a thing where I saw where you can now interact with like you can like watch the game and then see highlights, and it's all like visual. You can like switch from one like highlight to another,
yeah.
or like spoiler check, like show that I don't know. There's like a little different features, especially if you like watching soccer, for example, that you can customize for yourself. So that's like a I don't know, some additional dimension that you don't get from just watching it on TV.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was applying to the zone, one thing that I loved about the zone that they were doing in Canada was that they had for Champions League, you know this, that on a Tuesday or Wednesday, you're trying
Mm-hmm.
to catch like 8 different games, especially during the group
Yeah.
stage. And they had this feature where you could basically just watch the highlights from four all the games on that day all at once. And I was like, okay, this is basically red zone, but for Champions League. And I was like, cool, man. I love what these guys are doing. I love like the way they think, very forward
Mm-hmm.
thinking. I think you'll continue to see that from us for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. And so, Eric, like at some point, I see that you moved up to become a manager for global subscriptions. Was that the moment when the zone actually? Because I know at some point the zone decided to just go global, like places like Kazakhstan, excuse me, Kazakhstan
Yeah,
and
yeah.
other like Uzbekistan. All of a sudden, everyone has the opportunity to download the zone and just be that subscriber and watch those fights, especially like I know that in places like Kazakhstan and Russia, like a lot of things are just connected to the combat sports on the zone. Can you describe that moment? Like, is that exactly when you started, or like how was that in your like in your memory? Like, how did that whole started, and what can you share about that
Yeah, I think
that
it was
that period?
actually 1 or 2 months, 1 or 2 months right before the global launch. So in hindsight, I think, and I'll be very honest with you, I got moved on my own. Like I basically just woke up one day. There was, I think in hindsight, I think our management team was probably looking ahead to the global launch. And then basically I just woke up one day and they're like, hey, Eric, you're no longer the account manager on this team. You're now on the global subscriptions team, doing more of a marketing role. And I was like, oh, okay, let's go for this. I mean,
But that sounds like a really good promotion, to be honest. In my eyes, this is so exciting. You know, going global, that's like some conquest kind of stuff. You know, you're like trying to like get all the markets, be that first mover advantage.
it was a little frightening at first, just because I didn't have a formal marketing background. I didn't study it in school. I did some ad sales marketing at ESPN, but just sort of your traditional kind of like briefing in, campaigns, managing the campaigns, working with an agency to manage the dollars behind it. It was all new to me. But I think kind of what uh, my bosses kind of saw was probably that, and what our leadership team saw was just that I love boxing so much, that I'm so passionate about the sport, and like I could sit here and talk to you for hours and hours about sports and boxing and who my favorite fighter is and the different styles. Like I could go on for days. So I think that passion is kind of what led the team to put me in that position. And then that I think also my knowledge on the U.S. Hispanic market, which is obviously really, really big for us given Canelo. So was put in this role. And then, honestly, it was kind of like getting thrown to the wolves and then just learning it all on the spot. But obviously, have a great manager, have a great management team. And they kind of helped me grow along the process. But yeah, it's been a tremendous change, welcome change. And then we went global. So it was like, hey, you're now marketing for 200 countries and territories and promoting events across all these markets. So it's an impossible task, right? You can't possibly launch 200 campaigns and put a lot of media dollars, just impossible to have all those resources. Being a two-man team alongside with my boss, Rob Steckler, which is kind of impossible. So what we do is when we look at an event, we think about it very strategically, right? If I'll give you a good example. So Lawrence Nicoli fought
Glavatsky,
on a Matchroom UK card. So we didn't have those rights to that event in the UK, but talking to some Polish fans in the market, they're saying Glowacki is a huge draw here. So we did some small campaigns in that market, worked with some affiliates like Canal Sportway that cover the sport in that market, and we were able to have a decent number of success and new signups in Poland. So that's kind of the role now, is looking at the boxing calendar and figuring out, okay, what markets is this fighter kind of drawing, what markets is this fight potentially drawing, and then testing out new things and being very strategic about it, right? Because again, you can't spend millions and millions of dollars of marketing in every single market across the world. It's just
no,
impossible.
absolutely. And that's why it's such a bold move to go globally. And I just want to share you a little bit my experience, right? So I went to Kazakhstan, to visit my family and friends back in April. And I have a DAZN subscription, so I tuned in to DAZN in Kazakhstan. I definitely see that, like, for example, the Kazakh app, and I'm not sure to what extent you guys geotagging like everything, but like in terms of like what kind of sports you're showing. But in Kazakhstan, I believe it's only boxing right now. At the same time, Kazakhstan subscription costs only, I would say like $2, $2.5, something like that. And which is like mind blowing for me to like see, for example, Canelo or Ryan Garcia fight for $2 that you can see per month. We just like get like only pay once, for example, just to see that fight. So that's an amazing deal, and I can totally see like what you guys doing. You're definitely understanding that former Soviet Union, because I'm speaking as someone from former Soviet Union. The subscription model for the OTT services for the platforms is definitely something novel for those kind of markets, and there's definitely it takes a lot of convincing, knowing from a personal experience, for someone to say like, hey, you can like subscribe to that and you get all this content and you don't have to pirate it, and that's pirating. I just want to talk to you about pirating like a little later as well. But like streaming fight pirating is like a huge thing. But the older people become, no one wants to do this. It's just too hard. Like it's always easier just, hey, why don't you just pay 600 tenge, which is like $2, or like 800, and just watch it, and then watch all the past content. And then there is an amazing Triple G documentary that is not available in Canada in DAZN. So I actually was so excited when I got to Kazakhstan. The first thing I did, I turned on my DAZN just so that I can watch that 3-part documentary about Triple G. That is available to Kazakhstan, but not in Canada. So that's like an interesting thing that I still don't understand. Maybe you can like clear that thing up for me, why I can like see the Triple G doc in Canada.
The making of Triple G,
exactly.
Make sure you guys tune in and check it out. It's good. Also check out Triple G Ronaldo Parallel Worlds.
Triple G Ronaldo. Like for some reason, like it's in Kazakhstan, it's available. So like I was really like encouraging everyone to download DAZN, at least to just watch that. But then like all the past fights and stuff. So that's one thing that I've noticed, that it's a great deal, and that is only just for boxing at this moment.
So hold on, just before we go in, I guess going back to your question, just about the rights. I mean, just it's I'm not privy to all the conversations, all negotiations, but typically when a fighter And, let's use boxing, going back to let's use Canelo. I mean, Canelo is obviously the biggest example. Obviously there's sort of negotiations in the background, and for whatever reason, certain fighters or certain athletes might want to retain the rights to their image in a certain market. So in the case of Canelo, for example, DAZN carries his fights globally in every single country and territory that you can imagine, except Mexico. I think obviously he probably has his certain preferences in terms of broadcasting in this market. Again, I'm not 100% privy to those conversations, but there must be a reason that he kind of carves that out. So that's part of the negotiation phase, and ultimately DAZN adheres to whatever the contractual obligations are, and if there's certain territories carved out, then we do it. So I think going back to the documentary, I'm sure we have global rights or have it in a lot of markets, but there might be a couple of restrictions, i.e. Canada. I wonder if that's, I wonder, you're closer to Triple than I am, so maybe he has something in Canada that I'm
who knows? But yeah, that's another thing. Like I've sometimes I thought when DAZN went global, all the Triple G fights would be moved to DAZN in Kazakhstan, and DAZN would be an exclusive platform where they can show Triple G fights. But apparently, all other fights, Canelo, Ryan Garcia, all those mega fights are exclusive to DAZN in Kazakhstan and Russia and anywhere else in the former Soviet Union. But Triple G fights are televised on the Kazakh TV. So I believe that's kind of a similar deal that you're talking about that Canelo has in Mexico. And that's kind of sucks though, right? For DAZN. I mean, that's unless it's a worthwhile deal somehow, but you guys would wish that, the number one Kazakh draw would only be shown on the number one platform, DAZN, so that you can get the subscriber rate. I mean, it's I don't know. I guess this is a self-explanatory question. Yeah, that's kind of that's the goal. But are you guys trying to move to that direction, or is just you're just letting the athletes kind of decide? I don't know.
Yeah, look, from a prescription standpoint, I think you nailed it spot on. I mean, from our perspective, it's better to not sell the rights, keep them exclusively to DAZN. I'm sure there's other financial factors that the finance team and our strategy team probably are taking into consideration when they make those decisions. But yeah, I mean, from a subscription standpoint and wanting to grow the fan base, it right on. I'm sure that's something that we'll push for. I'm something that our executive team will push for when possible. But again, there must be reasons behind. Sometimes it can give you a very interesting example too. There's also nuances in different markets that you're not 100% aware of, and we learn as we kind of go along. So I'll give you a good example. I forget, was it Povetkin
White?
The last who did he last fight?
Povetkin Dillian White.
Dillian White. Sorry, yeah, wow. Okay, I'm blanking out. So when I think we had those rights in Russia, for example, but I think we ultimately ended up putting them on free to air television. I'll give you one example. I think in Russia.
Yeah, it was in Russia. It was on TV because I'm streaming those fights. I'm streaming the commentary. So you remember I showed you the link what I do. And I can see if the funny part is if I have a lot of viewers, that means no one can find the fight, and so they're watching my stream. But that's how I see. If I have if there's a drop, then it's locally accessible on all the TV stations, and then they're just watching that. And then
No, so I'll give you a really, really interesting, just thing that we didn't.
Eric, just quick, a little. Your screen is shaking, I think, your camera. So I'm not sure what's happening there. But if you can not touch your camera so that it doesn't shake.
Is it good now?
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
So very interesting. One thing we learned about Russia, they're just trying to launch that market and kind of planning for that market. Again, obviously Povetkin would be a huge draw there. Is that local Russian law or regulation just required DAZN to be a local entity or to have a local business after of audience viewers in that market. So I think on the back end, I think our legal team and our finance team kind of worked through it, and we're like, you know what, this actually doesn't make sense. We're better off just selling the rights. Giving it to local television. So it's just a little nuance sometimes, little things like that you're not even aware about.
Do you think it's easier in Kazakhstan? Or is it the same kind of thing?
I think I think it's easier. I know for sure. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
I would imagine. I don't know, because Russia, a lot of in Russia is about, especially during public audience television, propaganda, blah blah blah. They're very cautious about public outreach and stuff. But yeah, okay. I don't know, what's your overall, because another part that I just wanted to share with you, and I think I've talked to that about that before, is that I'm noticing, because I am doing the live commentary for a lot of fights on DAZN, for my personal YouTube channel, I see that Canelo and Ryan Garcia, Canelo obviously, but what I was surprised is he's a huge star in Kazakhstan, or at least people want to see him fail in Kazakhstan a lot, so they all they're all watching his fights. And the way I see, because I also track the subscriptions and stuff for the zone through my channel,
Yeah.
as I showed you before. I see that people really want to watch. Like Canelo is actually driving a lot of subscriptions around the world, and after I saw that with my own eyes, I realized how much of a powerhouse his brand is worldwide. But what I was surprised about is that, and no one actually talks about it. Maybe they just don't see the numbers. They all assume that, like the boxing fans, that Ryan Garcia is just popular in the United States. But of all places, in Russia and Kazakhstan, he is getting a lot of traction as well, based on like what my numbers that I'm seeing. So there's a lot of fans for Ryan Garcia as well. And unlike Canelo, for example, in Kazakhstan, Ryan Garcia, and honestly, like it doesn't really matter because people still want to see Canelo fight. Like Ryan Garcia is not attached to the Triple G, fights and this, like conflict and all of that, in terms of like the sporting conflict and stuff. So my question to you is that, with Ryan Garcia being such a great opportunity for boxing worldwide, and with Canelo right now, um, do you guys come up with some sort of, like, for places like Russia or Kazakhstan or Eastern Europe, um, do you have any sort of like a strategy where you want to market towards that and acquire that subscription base? And I also know that one of your strategy is affiliate marketing. And if that's just like the way that you guys want to go, like how far do you want to go with affiliate marketing? And I'm talking about Russian influencers, Russian speaking, Kazakh speaking influencers. Is this even a discussion right now at DAZN? Because I can also see the fact that, okay, like we have this global worldwide, but we're not going to focus on that. Let's focus on the main market, the United States, and get as much subscription as possible. Where do you guys stand right now with that?
I think it's actually the latter. Kind of just focus on the U.S. at the moment. Look, we're a very data-driven company, so a lot of what we do is just looking at the numbers and just seeing where the biggest opportunity is. So let's use the affiliate program as an example, right? Like you'll generate, with your fan base in Kazakhstan, you'll generate X number of subs, right? If we have an affiliate in Mexico, as an example, who's drawing 2 times as much as you are, like we might focus on that affiliate and that market first. I mean, just again, going back to the resources thing, from a subscription standpoint, on the global side, it's myself and my boss, right? So it's literally just 2 of us, and we big event. We just need to be very strategic about what we pick. Now, that's not to say that down the road we won't have more resources or more attention on the Kazakh market, the Russian market. It just kind of needs. We're a little bit driven by kind of where the numbers take us, and we just go market by market and kind of just be very strategic about it. We have nothing in particular that's targeted to this market, but we do obviously with every fight sort of have our full marketing machine ready to go, and we know that it works, and we do it on a global scale. So obviously you see all the stuff that we do on social media. We produce a lot of content around that. On CRM, we'll target, existing users, users who have previously watched, Device as an example, or users who may have subscribed and are currently frozen, and we'll send messaging to them to try to win them back onto the platform. So, the whole world gets the full marketing machine in terms from like a DAZN owned and operated channel, but in terms of specific pockets that we focus on, we do have to be very strategic. Just it's a bit impossible to
that's totally understandable. That's why like that was my kind of assumption, is like, yeah, I like even on my end, like I don't see like the counter, especially looking at the numbers, even the bounty, the payout amount. Like I can see that just like the subscription, what is it, $2? Like,
Yeah.
of course it's a lower revenue driver, but I hope it's not getting too much into your cost though, like the fact that people can subscribe and watch Canelo fight and you don't have to sell those rights for much more money, I'm assuming, to like, Kazakh TV channels or Russian or Polish or whatever. I hope
Right.
it's not like taking out too much out of your revenue, because I would hate to see, you guys thinking like, okay, that was a great run, but like it's just not financially feasible. So there's no question there, but I sincerely like hope that it's gonna stay there, because it's a really great deal for people who live in that part of in that part of the world. And I hope much more subscribers will add to that, so at some point it like makes a really like big difference.
It,
Um,
it's
yeah,
it's a slow process, man. Like it's you have to be very patient. You know, I think for a lot of these markets, streaming is still new. I mean, even in the U.S., it's still fairly new. I mean, I think
exactly.
the US tends to be a little bit ahead in terms of business trends and versus other markets. But even then, like if it wasn't for COVID, I think a lot of people kind of cut the cord during the pandemic. Went on, you didn't have as much need for it, and all of a sudden the a la carte subscription model kind of took an uptick. But even then, there's still a long ways to go. So I think I'm thinking specifically about Mexico, like long term. Obviously, this is a market that has a huge
Absolutely.
base. It's a huge market economically. So I think there's a lot of potential here. But again, it's not going to happen overnight, right? Like I think you need, to your point, I don't think we'll ever give up or just not focus on this market. But I think it's a very slow process where it's like, okay, you start with the affiliate program, or there's certain partners that are drawing more, and then all of a sudden you see, okay, wow, okay, Ron Garcia tends to draw really well here. So what can we do with him next time, and how do we build on that and build on that every more? So it's a slow process, but I don't think
Yeah.
we'll ever give
But
up on it.
it's also a fascinating process. And it's very bold. I really like this idea. I really like the fact that DAZN decided to like go worldwide and against all kind of traditions. You don't see like ESPN pushing their service like in Kazakhstan, Russia, or anything else. Like there's always like some it's always been like that. And just the local TV channels just buying the rights. Like that's why I always, when I first came to the United States, the whole notion of pay-per-view was like so like foreign to me, because every fight was just on TV. Like, you guys really pay
Yeah.
$70 for something? That's crazy. So that's to that point. Going back really quickly and we're going to the end of our interview here. Going back to the affiliate marketing, that's something novel as well. Like I never seen an affiliate program for a subscription service like that, or maybe I'm just not aware. I was trying to find any other programs like that. I was looking up at the UFC app, at the ESPN app, and I don't think they have that. But DAZN is the only one who is kind of like pushing towards the affiliate marketing subscription base.
Yeah, well, I think that the big difference for us, and you just nailed it earlier, was that I mean, if you look around, I think we're the only global sports streaming app. I mean, I think, I actually did work on the ESPN app campaign in Latin America, but I remember what the app is in Latin America was very different from the US, where it was like, it's ESPN Plus in the US, and in Latin America, it's ESPN Play. And then in the UK, so they have different platforms. The technology isn't exactly quite the same there versus DAZN. To your point, you showed up in Canada and you have it, and then you went to Kazakhstan and you were able to log in, and obviously the rates change, and you don't have the same access to all the content, but you can still sign on the platform. I mean, me being here the other day, this coming weekend, I plan on watching the Zurdo Ramirez fight on DAZN, like, and I have a subscription that I do in the US. So I think DAZN's proposition from that perspective is very uniquely tailored for the affiliate program. It makes it sort of unique. I think that's why we rely on it, because again, going back to that previous question, it's kind of impossible to focus on 200 countries and territories all at once. So we rely on people with local followings and local experts, kind of like yourself, who kind of know the market more, to give us those insights. And it's a win-win situation, right? Because
absolutely,
whether that's arming you with, getting you access to fighters or interviews. If you said to me, hey, all of a sudden Ryan Garcia is a huge draw in Kazakhstan, next time I might say, all right, cool, let's get you an interview and promote the hell out of him in Kazakhstan.
Awesome. I'll take that as a promise then.
But it's a win-win situation, right? Because you help us grow our subscriber base. Obviously, you receive commission on that. We can help you grow your channel. You help us grow. So I think that's why the affiliate program, again, given DAZN's global scale, it's such a key opportunity for us. So yeah,
that's really awesome, to be honest. I know about affiliate marketing quite a little bit, and I was surprised that DAZN is also part of that. Their strategies also has affiliate marketing in it, and it was pretty cool. Like the way it works, it was actually pretty efficient. So that's pretty cool.
It's brilliant. I mean,
yeah.
it incentivizes both parties to kind of work, right? So Yeah, you and I might need to have an extra meeting after this and figure out what we're going to do for the next.
Sure, absolutely. I would love to, because
So,
I'm honest, it's just fascinating. Like, I'd love to pick your brain. I want to see like what kind of guys, what kind of things you're like thinking about, and what, like, maybe I can help you with some Russian market stuff, or anywhere. Like, when I say Russia, of course I mean like 25 countries that speak Russian. You know, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Georgia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan. All of those countries are a part of like my base that are watching my content. But enough of my advertising. Question for you again. It's the last question. Eric, when you come to work, or like now working from home, for example, and you like open up your laptop, or, you know, turning on your computer, what are the kind of like the quick things that you're checking on? What are the KPIs? What are the like parameters or something that you're always checking? Is this like the number of subscribers? Is this the, aside from emails and all of that, like what are the like data that you look at, just like from the very bird's eye view? I don't want you to go and get into those details and stuff.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, all of the numbers that DAZN has are obviously very confidential, and we
of
keep
course,
very close to our chest. But yeah, I think for my role specifically, it has to be subscriptions, new acquisition, but also engagement levels, right? You know, the fans that are already subscribed, we want them to keep coming back to the platform. You know, we want them to not just come in for the Triple G fight. We want them to come in, consume the documentary, consume El Presidente, the Ronaldo.
I love El Presidente, man. I
It's
love
good,
El
right?
Presidente. Like, so good. It's just, and I like how the editing is great, and the like the flashbacks kind of reminds me of that Jordan documentary a little bit. You know,
Yeah,
it's pretty good. Yeah.
It's good. I want to buy a Ronaldo jersey now after watching.
Yeah, man, it brought back so much memory for me. Back in the day, Ronaldo was crazy, man. Like, I remember 2002 World Cup. Wow.
I'm sad that he didn't stay at Barcelona for longer. I'm a Barcelona fan.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy. Like, their explanations, like, why didn't you want to stay at Barcelona? His managers are like, well, because Barcelona's are douchebags.
They didn't give a great answer. They were just like, you know, Barcelona.
Yeah, it was just, there was no, they like, yeah, they just didn't treat us right, and we just bailed. I was like, wow. But anyways.
But yeah, man, I think the ultimate KPIs for us are, you know, acquisition. You know, seeing, you know, after a specific event, seeing how it performed in certain markets that we predicted would you know, sort of have a lot of acquisition in that market, but also again, engagement levels, just seeing how many people already on the platform are coming back to watch the content, because it's very important, right? We want you to stay on, we want you to subscribe for the pass, you know, if you have that option in the US, or you know, if you're on the global platform for $2 a month, stick around for another month, right? We have more content, you know, more good fights coming, you know, more documentaries. You have the DAZN boxing show on Monday through Friday. I think, as far as I can think of, I think it's the only studio show that covers boxing on you know, that cadence of you know, 5 times a week.
Absolutely. And then there's a Matchroom show, like a fight camp with Matchroom, I think is coming up soon. I saw on the DAZN schedule. So that's another kind of a programming that's going to be there with fights, but probably some cool shoulder programming there as well, or some like reality show stuff, I'm assuming. I don't know. We'll see.
Exactly. Yeah. So fight camp coming up soon. We have the Zudo Ramirez Barrera fight.
July 9th. Yeah.
And yeah, after that, you know, we'll hopefully have some interesting announcements pretty soon, and you know, we won't give away too much information, but hopefully, you know, we'll keep you guys busy for the next couple of months and give you plenty of reasons back. So stay
sure. For sure. Awesome. Well, Eric, thank you so much. I took too much of your time, and I really appreciate your time. I know that it's a weekend, and it's a Euro 2021, 2020. I'm going to be watching as well, England versus Ukraine. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time. I'll post the link to your Twitter account. I feel like more people should follow you and like get like, you know, information from the DAZN Insider as well. And if there's anything you want to get a shout out to, or like any of your platforms, besides DAZN, maybe like social media, let me know, or like go for it right now.
Yeah, awesome. No, well, first of all, thank you, Samir, for having me on your podcast. Really appreciate the time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, follow Twitter, Baby Bull Boxeo.
That's a great handle, by the way.
Baby Bull Boxeo, and then follow me on Instagram as well, Baby Bull Boxeo. Actually, it's my coaching platform, so you'll see some of me giving pads or working with some of the kids that I'm training. So
awesome.
follow as well, please.
I'll provide all these links on the video and on the podcast as well. Eric,
Awesome.
thank you so much. I hope we can stay in touch, and I hope we can just have some off-air conversations as well, because I feel like you're such a great resource for knowledge of boxing and the industry itself.
No,
And
I
I'll be
appreciate it, man. The
glad
pleasure
to-
is all mine. I think you have an awesome story as well. So definitely happy that we were able to connect. And yeah, looking forward to staying in touch and working closer together.
Thank you.